This morning, we are having the 6th Arya Kshema Winter Dharma Gathering. And I would like to offer my greetings and welcomes to all of the Khenpos from the various nunneries, as well as the teachers, and also to all of the nuns. Likewise, I'd like to offer my greetings to all of the members of the public, lay, and monastic who have come here this morning. Now, in general, So generally my teaching the Jewel Ornament of Liberation over the internet this year is because of a few reasons. I think it's been for 2 winters. I have not had the opportunity to teach the Jewel Ornament of Liberation at the Winter Dharma Gathering. And once I've begun the Jewel Ornament, then it's my responsibility to finish the teaching. And so for that reason, I'd like to take this opportunity to continue. Since this is what we could say is the internet age or the technological age, so I'd like to take the opportunity to use technology to speak with all of you. So we have the technological methods, and so I thought it would be good to continue to teach using the technology. Generally, I can't really say that I have the confidence or the education or qualities to be able to teach such profound Dharma as this. But even though I don't have it, it's like I have no choice but to teach. Once I've been given a high title and taken on a big responsibility, and whether I'm able or not, you have no choice but to do it. In particular, this Jewel Ornament of Liberation, these stages of the path, is like the most important ancestral dharma of the Kagyu lineage, and so having the opportunity to teach it is an extremely great fortune for me myself. And it can also be considered a service to the great Kagyu masters of the past, or a way of showing respect to them. And so I'm thinking of it in this way as I teach. And I'd like to ask all of you to also generally, basically, whenever we're teaching and listening to the Dharma, whatever Dharma it is that we're teaching and listening to, we must not let that opportunity go to waste. We have this. We have this precious human body that has all of the facilities for practice Dharma and is free of the adversities. And now that we have achieved this, and so once we have to receive teachings on the teachings from the great teachers, and having such an opportunity is incredibly valuable, and so we must sort of think that we understand this. And then we should also think that by listening to these profound teachings, it'll benefit our beings. We should also think that it's something that we can, in this lifetime, put into practice to ripen our own beings and to ripen other sentient beings. And so if we listen to Dharma with such a motivation, I think that it's beneficial. Otherwise, listening to Dharma is not, if we think of it as just sort of thinking about what is that person saying, what are they saying? And just sitting there with your ears perked up doesn't bring the benefits of listening to and teaching the Dharma. In addition to not bringing it, and also it's kind of like ignoring the teacher, the Dharma. And it's possible that it can bring criticism to the teacher and also harm to the Dharma itself. And so if we ourselves must absolutely, for our own parts, have listened with the have the motivation to have the best intentions and actions as we listen. Now, the place where we left us last year, or a few years ago, is we completed the 10th chapter, and so we've come to the 11th chapter, probably. And so so I'm going to teach from the 11th chapter. And this 11th chapter, what is this 11th chapter, the jewel ornament? It is the presentation of the six perfections. So first I'm going to read a little bit from the beginning. The precepts related to engaged bodhicitta are threefold: higher training in moral discipline, the higher training in mind, and the higher training in wisdom. In this respect, the lamp for the path to enlightenment says, keeping the vow of engaged bodhicitta, practicing the three jhanas of chasing well, your respect for the three trainings will be great. And so these are the words from the text. Now, when we think about it, the words in the text here, in this chapter, there aren't that many. It is not too long. And there are citations from these sutras and the tantras, a total of 9. So there are 9 different citations given in the chapter. And the first of these citations is this one. It is from the lamp for the path of enlightenment. And when we've given what it says in this citation from the lamp for the path to enlightenment is it teaches the precepts of engaged bodhicitta. So by giving in order to give the precepts of engaged bodhicitta, it cites the lamp for the path to enlightenment. And the meaning of these, generally, there are 2 different ways to explain the citation from the lamp. And the reason for that is that when you talk about the 3 trainings in discipline, it can either be the 3 types of discipline of a bodhicitta, the discipline of avoiding harming others, the discipline of gathering virtuous qualities, and the discipline of benefiting others. That's one way to explain it. The second way to explain it is that the 3 trainings here refer to the three superior trainings. So these are 2 different ways of doing it. So here, in this situation, Gampopa teaches them in terms of the 3 superior trainings. And in thinking of this, he incites it. So in this way, here it is given in the second way of interpreting this passage. Now, prior to this, the text is taught about the ways to rouse bodhicitta and how to take the vows, and it's given many precepts of bodhicitta. So once we have taken the vow of bodhicitta, we need to train in the precepts. And the reason or purpose of practice of keeping the precepts, as I said, is, as I said, it's in order to purify your body, speech, and mind. And so in order to restrain ourselves to the precepts or to increase our practice of the precepts, we need to engage in doing what we should do and giving up what we should not. And so what we need to train in. And so even though we have to train in things, we need to do what we need to do and give up what we need to do. The basis for training in this is, as said, is given here in this. Is said here, practicing the three trainings of discipline well, your respect for the three trainings will be good. So we need to train in the three trainings. And so here, when we talk about the three trainings, the reason why it says we should train in the three trainings is that in general, that there's nothing that the bodhisattvas shouldn't train, as that says, where the bodhisattva says, there's nothing at all the victor's offspring should not learn. And similarly, as often to say, there in many quotes that we often say, like one from Maitreya, such as that if we do not train in the five areas of training, we will not be able to complete the practice of the bodhisattva. Likewise, also Janggun Sapin said, if we do not train in the areas of knowledge, then we will not achieve bodhicitta. And so, therefore, we need to train in all the areas of training, as it is said. So, in any case, all the Buddhas and bodhisattvas there's nothing at all, or really area of knowledge or topic that they do not train in. And the primary reason why there is nothing that they don't train in is primarily that the work of a bodhisattva is benefiting other sentient beings. It's accomplishing the short-term and long-term benefit of sentient beings. And in order to accomplish the short-term and long-term benefit of sentient beings, you must have the capacity or knowledge, or you have to have a lot of capacity or a lot of knowledge in order to be able to benefit others. And so, if you only have a small amount of knowledge, you can't benefit many sentient beings, because the sentient beings are numerous and they're levels. And each sentient being has the things that they like or dislike. And they have different ways of speaking, and they all have different ways for all of these. And so the bodhisattvas have to have deeds and activity, must display deeds and activity that accord with sentient beings' different aspirations. And so for this one, different from how it is with the Shravakas or the Pratyeka Buddhas, the bodhisattvas need to train in infinite areas of knowledge. So normally, we talk about the 5 areas of knowledge. We talk about studying the 5 areas of knowledge. So for the 10 areas of knowledge, it's taught. Also, it's taught in the Prajnapada Buddhas that we have to train in the 173 trainings in complete aspects, the 13 gradual trainings, the 4 instant trainings, the generosity and the different types of eyes and knowledge and capacities and so forth. There are infinite things that are taught. So basically, the Bodhisattvas have an incredible number of things that they have to study, but all of them. But if there's so many things to say, why is it that we're only talking about 3 trainings? If we have to train in everything, but we doesn't say everything, it just says 3 trainings. And so what is the reason for this? So generally, when you talk about the children of the victors, the bodhisattvas, what they have to learn, if they had to learn each of the things they need to, every area to learn, there are too many. They're infinite, they're too many, and it's just too much for them. It's just way too much for them. For example, with us ordinary sentient beings, when we rouse bodhicitta, and we have to, if we want to if we begin to become a bodhisattva, and at that time, that's sort of a person, a new person, if you tell them at the beginning, if you tell them about the 173 trainings and complete aspects from the Ornament of Clearization, then they just wouldn't understand at all. There's no way they could understand or comprehend. And so they get to a certain level of study. When they've studied after a few years, then they can understand it, but you can't understand it right from the beginning. And not only that, the bodhisattvas, there's nothing that the bodhisattvas, the children of the Buddhas, do not study, and so for that reason, and so the areas of study that we need to study are innumerable. They're infinite. There's no way we can study each of them in turn. And so for what we need to do in place of that is we need to study summary verses or outlines. And these are important. We need to make summaries. So we don't need to learn everything, but we need to summarize them or make outlines. And if we do that, then it's easy for us then it's easy for it to appear in our minds. So how do we make these summary verses? And how to make summary verses? Now, there are many different ways that they're made. For example, so we can talk about the gathering the two accumulations through the way of the form kayas and the dharma kayas and so forth, of achieving this form and the dharma kayas. Likewise, we can also have the profound and vast as an explanation of the two truths. We can talk about the discipline in terms of what should be done and what should be avoided, and we can also talk about giving up the afflictions in terms of the three trainings, and we can think about it in time in terms of the levels and so forth, and we can also think about it the superior and the lesser, and then divide the worldly and the transcendent paths and so forth. So there are many different ways to make these that we can make these summaries and these outlines. But when we make them, of course, there are so many ways that if we need to know all of this, then it also becomes really just way too complicated. And so because there's so many ways to make these summary verses, the primary way, or the most important way of making these, is that is the one that we must choose. And what that is here is the six paramitas, the six transcendences. Now, the six transcendences are primarily making a summary in terms of the practice, in the way we practice, in terms of how we engage in the practice. Because the six transcendences are classified in terms of how we practice, so because of that, there's nothing that the bodhisattvas need to train in, because that is not included in the six transcendences. The reason that there is not is because other than taking care of oneself, taking care of others, and gathering all the qualities of the bodhisattvas are all contained and complete within the six transcendences. And so the summarizing everything in the six transcendences is superior than the other ways of making summaries. And these six transcendences, if we make a summary of those, and to teach them in brief, then we say they all are included within the three trainings. So the six transcendences, if we explain them in terms of as summarized in the three trainings, then it's a greater summary. So when you talk about the summaries, are really, really important, and the reason for that is that if you think about it, most people ordinarily think that someone who's the learned people who really these people can say in a few words, can actually summarize a great meaning in just a few words, and can communicate a great understanding through just a few words. People without a lot of qualities or a lot of education and so forth can speak for hours and hours, but we don't gain any particular understanding or learn anything particularly new. And sometimes when we talk about Buddhas, the Buddha is incredibly, incredibly learned. He's got the greatest progeny, the most learned. It has to be the Buddha, right? But the Buddha, when you talk about the summaries, he used these like the Four Noble Truths. It's like for those of us who want to the basis that we who wish to achieve liberation need to practice is the four truths. And there's nothing that we must practice that is not included in these four truths. And so we made that summary in the Four Noble Truths. Likewise, in this context, generally bodhisattvas, there are many different qualities or areas that they have to that bodhisattvas have to study. There are many ways to do them, but to combine them all, there is none that is not included in the six transcendences. And the six transcendences themselves, to summarize them, there is none of them that's not included in the three trainings. And so when you combine the six transcendences into the three trainings, the reason for doing this is, if we explain them in terms of the three trainings, then we have a vaster understanding or a broader understanding of the entire thing. We can bring out the particular features of these transcendences, and so it's big. And so it's a superior way of understanding. The reason why we have a broader understanding of the transcendences is because it is that these three trainings are well known throughout all of the fields of areas of Buddhism, not just the Mahayana. But if we can understand this well, then if we have a good understanding, then we have a better understanding of the common understanding, the overall teachings of Buddhism. We gain an understanding that overarches all of the different vehicles of Buddhism. In particular, when we talk about the three trainings taught here, it's not just the three trainings taught in the general teachings on Buddhism, but it's also the three trainings of the Mahayana that are taught here. And so when you talk about these three superior trainings in the Mahayana, are said to be superior in many ways to the three trainings of the foundation vehicle. And if we do not know these three trainings, then there's no way we can understand how they are superior. And so for that is why it is taught that we need to understand why they're taught and why the six transcendences are included in all three trainings. And now, if we ask, what is the way that the six transcendences are combined into the three? So this is taught as in the sutra, the commentary on the sutras, the condition of the intent, and so forth, and the ornament conditions, and so forth. And these are taught in the text of the jewel ornament itself, and these are taught generally according to the sutra explaining the intent is the basis for the explanation in the jewel ornament of liberation. And so for this reason, and so that is explained later, so I will speak about that later, so not at this moment. So in brief, in Tibet, as we all know, the terminology we use in Tibet, we talk about view, meditation, and conduct. These are the words we use in Tibet in general terms. When I talk about view, meditation, and conduct, so this view, meditation, and conduct is basically the same as the three superior trainings taught in the philosophical text. Basically, it's just a question where we talk about in terms of how it arises or how in forward or reverse. If we think about it in one way, we talk about it in terms of in the causal way. Then we talk about it in terms of the three trinities. If we talk about it in the opposite order, then we talk about it in terms of view, meditation, and conduct. So it's a question of whether it's the order of cause and result or the opposite order. So basically, this is like the pith instructions on the view, meditation, and conduct and the three trainings. They're basically the same. And so basically, the three trainings and the view, meditation, and conduct come down to the same point, the same essential points. And so here, when we talk about the view, meditation, and conduct, there are different ways that are explained in the different texts and in the different Tibetan traditions. And so I do not need to explain this in depth right now, but basically here in this context, basically we should understand the view, meditation, conduct, and the three trainings come down to the same point. Understanding this is extremely important. Basically, when we talk about the three trainings, first we have the training in discipline, then we have the training in samadhi, then the training in prajna. The reason why they go in this order is in terms of the order of cause and result. And the reason is it talks about, there's a sutra called the Sutra to the Three Trainings in the Kanjur, and this says that bhikshus, if we practice in, if we remain with discipline, we will remain in samadhi for a long time. If we practice in prajna, then we will achieve samadhi, then we will achieve praja. And if we achieve praja, then we will be able to become completely free of greed, hatred, and delusion. And so there's that citation. And what this teaches is that the order of the three trainings is the order of the three of cause and result. They come as one is the cause of the next. And so, as it says in the Treasury of Abhidharma, with conduct, listening, and contemplation, completely trained in meditation. So first you have the basis of pure discipline, and then in addition to that, you need to, by engaging in listening and contemplation, you need to gain the shamatha and insight and practice the resting and resting and analytic meditation. You need to train in these, and so that is basically what it is saying here. So basically, when we talk about the three trainings, the essence of them is when there's an explanation or a commentary on teaching on the or commentary on the jewels on the Treasury of Abhidharma, which gives a commentary, and it says that when identifying the three trainings, it says, what is the superior training and discipline? This is a bhikshu remaining within discipline, restrained by pratimoksha, with proper method and focus, viewing small and great reproachable acts with fear, and training and taking up the precepts properly. This is the superior training and discipline. What is the superior training in mind? This is a bicycle who is isolated, who has withdrawn from desires and accomplished the four jhanas and resting within that. This is the superior training in samadhi. What is the superior training in prajna? It is fully knowing, as it is, that this is the noth of suffering. It is fully knowing this is the noble truth of the origin of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path that leads to the cessation of its suffering, and knowing this as it is and properly. This is the training in superior prajna. So basically, so here there's a practice, this citation from the sutra is perhaps teaching the common, for the teaching common to all vehicles. And the reason why it is this is that in the sutra, in the Chinese texts, there's an explanation of this in the scriptural sutras, and also from the Shariputra's summary of the Abhidharma, which is taught, and it's taught in the same way. And so this is exactly the same as it is here by this master Shamatha Devi, as quoted in the commentary on the Abhidharma. And so this is for the common vehicles, or it's for the practice for the Shravakas and the Pratyekabas, or it's for the middling type of individual. Basically, you can say it's the practice of the three trainings that's taught here is what is the practice for these middling types of individuals. And so that's basically how it is now. And so now I should probably take a break here because it's probably time for everyone to take the tea break. So we will take the, I think this is a good time to take the break. So you please all have your tea. And then when we get back together again, then I will continue with the teaching.
어야, 다 드네, 다 양겨마 모두 슈아인. 담마시 초지는 게의 규정부 지 사데. 에 게지셰메 인두사네. 데즈 나디즈 dabdibroji shade sha. 지 지게 람산지 송보르지 용고민도 니네 annam yunji 게지셰 두산다 최셰 게시셰 치두산 윤은 미여봐. 윤은 미여봐. 라 초아의 문자를 제제 건 게시알 남산 산지고 삼과를 지다 전화민자를 용도도 다이네 다당한 연뒤리아 쪽지지 마도 매비 인두산에 에네 다 초아를 시다 게스 게임도 다치 수수 미버를 제제다 그냥 상으로 미긴 뒤에 예 삼파지기 가서 몇바를 제제 게시야 마도베 되네 그라 믹당네 다연두산에 다 쪽지지 마도 민도 되네 인두산에 다 쪽지리 게시셰 두산 다그 콜레야 미세다 가서다 니 게시야 되라 그게 가서 될래야 냠주르게 여바 냠다 좋아게 땡고 말어 냠다 좋아게 마된데 응아라 냠다 좋아스게 매댕이로지 섬주든주를 매댕이로 차대 원다 드레제 다 모두 마슈 쇼버지 단도나 라바숨사디 모디 다단계 공부 수반은 신기 아다 당에 롱长버디 디 가르쳐다 뭐버지기 대신에 얼코아사 디나로래야 롱장나면서 샤버디 그래서 디 롱디 안조 도디 롱디시 난게 롱나 소베기 롱데 롱이사레 삼사로지들이도 가라사나 갸게 나로래야 슈베기 도디 롱데시기 책태당 다는 신기 시리빈 제바라사기 청원부 뒤에 남자사죠 다디기 롱즈딘 잡으십시오 드네미 인자 디균선 때네 버지 다 초진이 팅민기 가서다 도롱지 베서지 다안 하버도 드네 도디 롱디시기 숑지 가서 롱지 맨로 삼르드네 정도 다이네 라바숨기 뭐데다 드니 더즈지 바 롱长마 자마도 벤지시 망부슈 마고체 다이네 지신의 선이 옹지디수 선이지 슈초 맨로 단도나 검딜래야 라바숨 숭주산에 플라고 라바숨 제제 플라와사기 시그레 자요 라바숨 버질이야 디 자과 균세 디 자나 민디비 균세 가르슬라베미나 플라와사 지랑 플라와사디 벽에 나로 플라와사들이야 구준이요 지게 가르스나 항말 류버로지 고요래 니 잘라 하샤사로 지여봐 당에 잘라 하바 류버 들리지 고어 다데네 야 하바사들라 셴네 케버도 파베 된다지 여봐 니 두사 갑들이야 가르르스나 셴네 케버도 파베 된다 된 거라 하바사데 셴네 하바 셴네 케버도 파바 임스 된 거라 다 셴네 케버도 파바 임스 수dim데야 셴네 케버도 파바 임스 anything in India 셴네 케버도 파바 임스 시르데 셴네 케버도 파바 임스 다시 간수를 케버도 파바 임스 다 케버도 파바 임스람 뜻사 뜬저지 거봐 Tene 다 술이 개발도 봐봐. 이 개발 포수 그래야지. 라비미나 개발 포수 되려야 나바니. 강보디 찌르 나와 상계 벨라바 숨보디 개발 봐봐 이거지당. 니바디 티버 침뷰기 라바 숨보디 개발도 봐봐 이거지. 시주니. 다 담보 나바 상계 벨라바 숨보디 개발도 봐봐 이비. 윤센디 저다 가난되는 샤고를 쓰라비나 아니 치료발을 되는 샤고스 그래서 치료발에 앉지당 그다 지 추짐당 시지 가루에 제 띵인지 지 삼대 띵인지다 다나 신기 더 시럽 som으로 더 시럽 지 지팀바점 되지 여버스 이나야 나마상게 베라바 숨부디 엔 치료무디 베게 다크서 치료베게 라바숨레 케버도 파바 디 케버도 파바 임비 준생 가라사나 녜색 롱주어 녜색 나노 롱 가르숭 가르스나 라베트니 치더부 인시아나 라베 수진게 라바 강이바다 라베 셈게 라바 강이바다 라베 시럽게 라바 강이바 대단해 템반 디코나를 얘기 딜리 치료받는 뒷몸만 바데
With the non-Buddhists, and so therefore they are superior, and that is the meaning of superior according to the citation. So basically, when you talk about the three, the Buddhist superior trainings are only Buddhist. They're not present in the non-Buddhist religions or philosophies, and so for that, the three Buddhist trainings are superior. And so here, and when you're talking about saying that they're superior and that they're better, the manner in which they're superior and how that they're better, how they're superior is not taught. So how is that? So how are they superior, and how is it that they achieve that superiority? Then that basically is going to be talked about in terms of the two ways to analyze this. And the first is if we talk about in terms of in terms of conduct. The non-Buddhist trainings, the reason why the Buddhist training is superior to the non-Buddhist is because the Buddhist trainings, three trainings, are embraced or imbued with going for refuge, whereas the non-Buddhists do not go for refuge to the three refuges, the three jewels, and so for that, because the non-Buddhists do not go for refuge to the three jewels, their trainings are not imbued with that, and so for that reason, the Buddhist trainings are superior superior to the non-Buddhists because they're embraced by the three refuges. And so this is primarily in terms of our conduct or our practice. That's how it's presented in terms of conduct or practice. Then the second way. So that's another one. The conduct is just is similar to our well-known way of saying the difference between Buddhists and non-Buddhists is that they're divided by going for refuge. Now, in terms of the philosophical schools, the tenets of physical, the non-Buddhists are the extremists, shall we say, the extremists. So they grasp at one of the extremes of either permanent or nihilism, and because they grasp it, they're called extremists. And so this is primarily in terms of the philosophical schools. And so when we talk about the non-Buddhist philosophical schools, compared to them, the Buddhist three trainings are superior because, if we think about it with the superior training and discipline, the non-Buddhists do not have the wish for liberation. They do not have that renunciation or wish for emancipation. They do have discipline and so forth, but they don't have but they do not practice it with the wish for emancipation or the idea of seeking liberation. And so they do not have that. The non-Buddhists do not have that. So their training. So for that reason, the Buddhist training and discipline is superior. Likewise, with the training in samadhi, within the Treasury of Abhidharma talks about meditation on the counting the breaths and so forth, and says that the non-Buddhists do not have these methods. No, it is at that time that they did not have them. Now, these days, of course, everyone has training. Everyone's training going back and forth between the two. So you can't say that they do have this or they don't have that. It's difficult to say. But in terms of samadhi, it says that in terms of samadhi, there talks about how the samadhi is superior to the non-Buddhist samadhi. In terms of the prajna as well, in terms of whether they have the prajna that realizes egolessness and the 16 types of emptiness and so forth. So it can also be printed in terms of these methods. So that's another way of determining how that it is in Buddhism. So this is primarily in terms of the view, and determining the superiority in terms of the view. Generally, when you talk about look at the words of the previous of the forefathers of the Kadampa lineage, so those, if we practice the virtue such as generosity, if it is not embraced with the wish for liberation or the wish for omniscience, then no matter what we do or whether practicing, then it becomes a merit. It does not get the name of a training or a precept. And when it gets the name of a training or a precept is when it is motivated by the wish for nirvana, for liberation, and you practice generosity and so forth. And if you practice such dharmas as that with that intent, then it gets the name of a training. So the question of whether it's a training or not primarily comes down to whether the person who's practicing it has the wish to achieve liberation or not, and whether they're motivated by nirvana or not. That is how it is presented. However, if it is merely motivated by the wish for nirvana or the wish for liberation, even then, if it is not embraced by bodhicitta, then it doesn't get the name of the accumulations. When we talk about the two accumulations, it doesn't get the name of the two accumulations. So at the point that it gets when it is motivated by the wish for, not just the wish for nirvana, but the intention increases and it becomes, and when it is motivated by the bodhicitta or embraced by bodhicitta, then you can call them the two indications. So for that reason, it matches the characteristics of the accumulations taught in the Prajnaparamita, so you can call them the accumulations. So when you talk about the accumulation, we say the word accumulation primarily means what leads to in terms of what they lead to, whether they lead to the form kayas or the dharmakaya. If it leads to the dharmakayas, then it is the accumulation of wisdom. If it leads to the accumulation to the form kayas, then it is the accumulation of merit. And so when you talk about for the Shravakas and the Prateka Buddhas, there isn't any accumulation in that sense. When it is motivated by bodhicitta and we practice the merit of generosity and so forth, gets the name of no accumulation. But if it is not, so when it is, but when it is not embraced with the non-referential compassion, it is not called the prajna. When it is embraced by the non-referential compassion and it reaches and crosses that point, then it gets the name of the six transcendences. So in brief, this is not a question of how pervasive, but I think it's really important to take good understanding, and this is the reason why I'm explaining this. And so following this, and what this teaches about it, generally with the three Buddhist trainings are superior to the non-Buddhist, and that's the first. And the second is that the Mahayana trainings are superior to the foundation vehicle trainings. And the reason why this is that, the reason why we say this is, we think that the training and discipline, the Mahayana training and discipline, is superior in terms of four qualities, and samadhi is superior in terms of 6 qualities, and the training in qualities is superior in terms of 19 qualities, and so these are each taught in order. For example, with the training and discipline, so if we think about the training and discipline, but the 4 qualities are the classifications, the common and the special particulars, the vastness and the profundity. So these are the 4 qualities. And so the way that they're superior, and the primary way they're superior, is primarily taught in asangas, Mahayana Sangraha, the compendium of the Mahayana. If I need to explain each of these, then it would take a very long time. And it's not something we can immediately understand, so I think... So I'll just say the names rather to give it the idea, rather than giving an extensive explanation of each of them. And so for here, basically, when we talk about these training and discipline, the Bodhisattva's training and discipline is superior to the training of the foundation vehicle in 4 ways. And what these 4 differences are: the difference in the classifications, in terms of the common and special trainings, in terms of the vastness, and in terms of the profundity. The classifications, the question said, is the Bodhisattva discipline has 3 types of discipline, whereas the Shravakas, the foundation vehicle, only has the discipline of refraining from harming sentient beings. They do not have the discipline of gathering virtuous qualities and benefiting sentient beings. And so for this way, the Bodhisattva discipline is graded. Likewise, in terms of these common and special that they're the common teachings on avoiding the reproachable actions that is shared with the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, but they're also the discipline of engaging in reproachable actions to benefit sentient beings. And so sentient Buddhist can in order to benefit sentient beings, can do reproachable actions that do not become reproachable because of their motivation. And so this is a different distinction. And the second, and and in terms of the vastness, is in terms of the training, the merit, and the intention are all, and support are all vaster. They're all limitless, and so this is what it is. And so as it's there's like as taught in the way the Bodhisattva. We talk about the distinction of the profundities. We talk about the Bodhisattva can engage in actions such as killing and so forth. They are naturally unwholesome actions. However, the Bodhisattva, when the Bodhisattva engages in them skillfully, then they do not become miserable. Likewise, through various different manifestations, they can perform benefit and ripen other sentient beings. And so this way, they're more disciplined. So in this way, the training and discipline is superior to that of the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. Now, the second is when you think about the training in samadhi, it's superior to the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, and there are 6 reasons why. These 6 are the focus, the variety, the antidotes, the workability, and in terms of the accomplishment, and in terms of the action. So these are the 6 qualities that make it superior. And so these basically... I think I can talk about these in detail tomorrow. I think I've talked about all of them. If I talk about everything today, I don't have anything left to say tomorrow. So for that reason. And so I shall not explain everything right now. So in brief, the main point is that we need to understand of what I'm saying today is that when we're practicing the 3 trainings as a bodhisattva, when we make the commitment or take the oath of being a bodhisattva, then we need to do the practice of a bodhisattva. We need to do the actions of a bodhisattva. We need to do what bodhisattvas do. And we must not do what we should not do. We need to give up what we must not do. And so for that reason, the training or the precepts, it's exactly that. What we need to train, or what we need to study, the precepts we need to keep, what we need to do and what we need to give up. And so what is it that the bodhisattvas need to train in? If it was that, and so all the things that the bodhisattva need to train in are infinite. In brief, to give the real point, basic point of all this is that there's no dharma that the bodhisattvas must not train in. That's the basic point. Since there's nothing that they must train in, they need to train in everything. And the reason they must train in everything, it comes down to something we need to think about. It's not that the bodhisattvas wanted to become extremely learned and then to study everything. It's not that. The real point and the reason why they're training, there's a reason why they do that. If they don't, otherwise there's no reason to necessarily do that. It's because there's a real point. They need to train in everything. For example, and that's in the Tibetan land of Tibet. It's become like a custom. We have to have tulkus. Like we say that there are bodhisattvas who are taking intentional rebirth. Some of them probably are bodhisattvas taking intentional rebirth, and some, even without bodhisattva, they're ordinary individuals who, because of their karma and aspirations, have taken a rebirth. This is quite possible. It could be either of these. But basically, these people, what people believe is that a tulku is a bodhisattva who's taken rebirth, a bodhisattva who has come into the human world in a human form. And that's what we believe. And so, because of this, the tulkus, we have to study an awful lot, the tulkus. And the reason for this is there are many different areas of knowledge, like grammar and validity, the crafts and healing, and of course the Buddhist knowledges. And of course there are many areas of study that they need to learn. And like in the story in the past, we read stories about the Nirmanakayas in Tibet. There are an incredible number of them who didn't know them. So somebody who achieved unhindered knowledge of all of these areas. They could draw paintings and so forth. They were very good in healing. They were skilled in grammar, and so forth. And so there is just an innumerable number of these. And since they studied all these different areas of study, and the reason why they studied them all is because it became like tools. It's not because they wanted to become rich and well known and have a lot of facilities and so forth. If we said that it's that's not the real reason why they're doing this. The main thing, the reason they need to study, because they studied many different things, so that they can help the public. Because according to the members, they can help the members of the public according to the various different levels and with various different methods. Like if something is healed, then if the Lama knows medicine, then they can give the medical treatment. Likewise, if the Lama, someone is a lot of people come asking for divinations. If the Lama knows how to do divinations, then they can bring great benefit to, or vast benefit to sentient beings. Similarly with astrology and so forth. And in order to benefit sentient beings, you don't just sit on a throne and sit there and only teach Dharma. If you'd only do that, it's difficult to actually benefit sentient beings. It's not like, it's like people aren't always coming to the Buddha, people aren't always coming to the Lama saying, oh, please teach me Dharma. That does not happen, if you would. It makes the people want to be healthy, or they want to have no suffering, or they want to become more prosperous. They want their children and grandchildren to be able to study well and get good jobs and so forth. And this is why. So they have many different aims or ideas in their mind for when they come to it. If they have it's difficult to find people who only come to receive bodhiness. If we look at the actual situations, and that's how it is. Of course, it's important for all of us to study the Dharma, and of course we need to actually teach the Dharma. But not everyone can do that. Not everyone can be like Milarepa. So in order to be able to do a certain amount of benefit to sentient beings. When a business person says, I need help so that my business goes well and that I have more process, then the guru needs to be able to do something that is appropriate for that being and say, oh, I'll do some help for you. I'll do this wealth practice, do this, hide this sort of wealth vase, do this wealth deity practice, and so forth. And so sometimes the lamas will also give the wealth vases to business people and so forth. There's that practice, right? And so this is necessary. This is necessary in society. It's necessary for the public, right? Likewise with children or parents. When their children get sick, they immediately go to the guru. My child is sick. So please recite prayers so that it'll be cured quickly. And then the Lama needs to do things like give empowerments and fulfill their needs and whatever. And if the Lama says it, oh, this is the nature of the world, and being born and dying is the nature of the world, and the birth, aging, sickness, and death is the nature of the Buddha. So this is the nature of the suffering. So you should not be in suffering. So if the Lama would only teach like this, then everyone would be really disappointed. They'd be broken-hearted by this. It's like these are basically just illustrations. The Tibetan lamas, the actual lama need to study the reason why the Tibetan tulkus and lamas need to learn so many different areas of knowledge is to be able to bring vast benefit to sentient beings. So that's how it is. And so when we assert that when we take the oath and promise to be bodhisattvas, then once we've done that, we need to do the actions of a bodhisattva. And so the actions that we need to do are the actions of six transcendences, and if we sum them all up, we can sum them up as the three trainings, and within the three trainings, what they are is the training in discipline, the training in samadhi, and the training in prajna. And what are these three trainings? We need to be able to identify them with there. We need to know how to identify what these three trainings are. And not only do we need to be able to identify them, so the Buddhists teach us, but the non-Buddhists also teach us. Other religions also teach us the same thing. So what's the difference between the two? So people might think this, right? And so we need to be able to say we need to be able to tell what the difference between these two are. Not only that, even within the Buddhist training, and between the Mahayana and the foundation, if we go there, what are the differences between the two? We need to be able to know that. So in addition to know that, once we know all of that, then only then can we know how does it we practice the Mahayana. What is the foundation vehicle way of thinking? And since we're the Mahayana, so how does it practice the three trainings? If we need to know the differences, if we can make the distinction, then we know how to practice it, right? If we don't know the distinctions and the superiorities, then if we just say that we're Mahayana from orally, but we aren't really Mahayana, and so for that reason, that's the reason why the classifications and the distinctions are taught. So in brief, I think if we leave the teaching here today. Actually, somebody said in this nuns Buddha Dharma gathering, I'm not able to come in person, but it's not different. But as if there were no difference between me to come in, I'm trying to do. I'm like feeling the same responsibility and giving the same support. And I'm sort of overseeing all of the programs, whether they're small or large. For example, now in the evening, so now it's like 1 or 2 in the morning for me right now. So I'm staying up in the middle of the night. But even though it's the middle of the night, I'm just thinking, oh, maybe this will be beneficial, and I'm trying to do what I can to teach, and trying to do what I can to teach the Dharma. Likewise, yesterday's program, I looked at the schedules, the overall schedule, the daily schedule, and also the daily what to do, how you should chant before breakfast, what you should do before the teachings, before you do the group debates, what text you should recite before lunch, what you should recite before the evening group debates. All of these, and we hadn't decided all of this in detail before, and because we hadn't settled that before, I was not really comfortable with it. And the reason is when we have it's now been 5 or 6 years since we've had this, that we've had the Winter Dharma gathering, but we haven't done them. We've done all sorts of different things. Then it's really not quite appropriate. So I think that we have determined now the text traditions. Now, basically, with all of the practices, even though I'm not able there, it's just the same as if I were there. I am sort of taking the same interest and same responsibility and putting the effort into it. And the primary thing is that the Kyabje Drupal Rinpoche's Yangtze reincarnation has taken the responsibility and is working. And so for that reason, I'm also feel very comfortable at this. The previous Drupal Rinpoche was a real authentic guru who had all the qualities being learned, venerable, and good. And in particular, in Tibet, he and fulfilled the world at the wish of the 16th Karmapa, with the Supura, which had been destroyed during their cultural reviewing, so he restored it all and rebuilt it all, and he took that responsibility for the sake of beings and the teachings. It was a great responsibility, and so in that respect, and so I think that his inspiration and aspirations were different than other people. So for that reason, I've asked Rinpoche to oversee this, and also to say if we could say a nun's shedra or a nun's institute or college, whatever name we call it. No matter what, it doesn't matter what name we give it to, but in general, a place to study, and in particular, where we can really get deep into it, where we can teach and study the 5 physical physics. I've always thought we should make this, and so if Rinpoche is able to do this job, I think it'll turn out well. And so for this reason, Rinpoche is doing as much as it can to take the responsibilities, and you also, the nuns from the different nunneries. And please support him in terms of doing your jobs and your works, and please help in all ways you can. And so tomorrow we'll continue, so I do not need to say much more right now, so thank you all to everyone.